Welcome to another day and another, I can't even talk today, another dose of Did You Know? And with me today is such a cool chick. Like, we've been talking, blah, 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 blah. And I look up like, oh my God, we have 34 seconds. We got to pull this together. So obviously I didn't pull it together fast enough. But Kim Garrett, how are you today?
Good. I'm doing great. Thank you.
She is in the lovely Texas, which everybody knows is my favorite state.
Yeehaw. I almost wore my cowboy hat. But
It's so funny because I was like, I wonder if she's going to put a cowboy hat on. That'd be so cool. So I actually met. Well, I didn't officially meet, but I saw Kim on the Gas Monkey kind of Instagram page, and you were doing all this work, and it was super cool. I'm gonna let you get into it. I'm not going to give that away. So I reached out and I connected you with a friend of ours, Warrior Spirits. But did you know the husband of Warrior Spirits his head is on the back of my book cover?
No, that's so cool.
Actually, I have it here. So this guy, no, that's my son. It's backwards. This guy is the husband of Warrior Spirit.
I love that. That's so cool. I did not know that. That's so fun.
I didn't go into deep detail about it, but that is how my connection with Kim came. I saw her, loved what she was doing, reached out, made a little connection. Then I was like, I need to learn more about this chick. I need to ask her to be on the dose. So thank you for even entertaining this crazy, New England girl.
No, I love it. I'm so honored. I've looked at some of your stuff and I equally, mutually adore you as well. So, and what you're doing.
Oh, well, thank you.
We both probably stand for the same stuff.
I think within the 10 minutes and 15 minutes I've been talking with you, yes, 100%, I think we're in. So tell the world, I read your story from your website and what you're doing, but tell the world in a little snapshot, who is Kim?
Well, so originally I was, just to give a big backstory so you'll understand why I do what I do. I was born in 71 to two really crazy heroin addicts. I mean, they were like hippies, not the cool kind of hippies, but like let's sit around and shoot up all day kind of hippies.
Okay, that's crazy.
Exactly. So my original name was supposed to be Electra Zane, and my grandmother adopted me, which is how I'm now Kimberly Zane. But my dad still calls me Zane. A lot of my family calls me Zane, which is where Zane came from. Just the last couple of weeks, my mom actually died from a heroin meth overdose. Mm-hmm. So I'm real, we were not close at all. So it was, I kind of had anticipated that death my whole life. And I'm actually shocked she lived as long as she did. I mean, I'm almost 50 and she's been doing it since she was pregnant. So that's a long life of drugs. Yeah. But I think I always gravitate to people struggling with that because I understand it. I watched it as a child. And my dad, fortunately, he became a pastor, went a completely different route, and he's one of my very best friends. So, and then
interesting.
I know. And my stepmom, who has been my stepmom since I was 8, she this past February legally adopted me. So she's really my legal mom now. So yeah,
I love that. When did that happen? Did you just say?
In February.
So, I love that. Yeah. It doesn't matter how old you are. It makes a difference.
It does. It was very emotional. It was fun. It was, in the courthouse, even the judge was crying. It was cute. So it was a great time. But so what happened with me is I grew up, so my grandmother was a badass. Like she was way ahead of her time. She was a bartender. She smoked pot every day. She was also a Jehovah's Witness, like completely like anomaly of characteristics. And she taught me all of these great things, just a weird way to grow up.
Yeah, yeah.
So I grew up very free, hippie. I barely graduated high school. I did not go to college. I went straight to work. Okay. And really am so happy about that. I wish more people would think that way because I don't think everybody I was a horrible student. But I've worked in every industry. And so I understand the trades. I understand waiting tables. I understand all of it. And what happened was I ended up somehow getting into media, became an assistant, and then I got into sales. And then I ended up being an early employee at Facebook. So I was able to retire early. It was just kind of this like fairy tale of luck.
Yeah.
A lot of people work hard and a lot of people don't get that outcome. So I was just so like, how in the world did this happen to me? And so because of that, I just went on a little bit of a soul searching thing, which I think everybody does in their 40s. Like it's like that time where you're like, what is really going on here? And I started, because I grew up Jehovah's Witness and then my dad being a pastor, I've always struggled with organized religion.
Right.
And so I started going to churches and seeing which one was the best for me. And one day I was sitting outside a Starbucks, in line waiting to get in. And I noticed people, and I was on the way to church too. I noticed people like stepping over this homeless man, not even acknowledging his existence. And I thought, well, this is so weird. You're racing to church, but there's a human. I like, just say hi. It's so weird. And so I was like, you know what? So I went in and I got 2 coffees and I sat down next to James, which was this guy. And I sat there for 3 hours. And it was like the best conversation I'd had all week. And he was a veteran. And he, lived on the streets, and he was the most, honestly, it was one of those where I walked away and I was like, was that really a human being or was that a test? Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
Because it was just bizarre. He was so grateful for that. Like, he was like, look at what a beautiful day. I'm here. I'm alive. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I just sat with a bunch of bitches last night that were complaining about, their eyelashes or something, like, you know what I mean? And
I do.
It's such an amazing day, and you sleep under a bridge, and you fought for our country. Like, how is this normal? And so I just started going into do that. Like every Sunday I would show up, and then it would be, James and CJ. And then, over time it just became a bigger group and a bigger group. And one year my husband for my birthday surprised me and bought me a van so I could start, filling it with the stuff that they needed. And it just kind of, organically took off. And I love it. It's, as you know, because of what you do, it's very self-rewarding. I know I'm helping people, but when I see other people help me help them, I've sat in my floor in my study and cried like a baby because I'll get huge deliveries from people from Ireland that I don't even know. Or I have a family in Germany that sends me every month this huge box of socks and t-shirts. And it's bizarre. And they know it's going to our veterans. And they know, that is like a true testament to just human beings.
It is.
Political differences aside, country differences aside, or I'll get deliveries from people that I went to kindergarten with that I haven't seen in forever. And it's so nice to see that about humanity, because as we were talking before we went live, you can get into a rabbit hole where you think everybody's mean.
Mm-hmm.
They're not.
No. And I am a huge believer that like energy attracts like energy. So as you were growing up, no matter, crazy and, quirky as it was, there was something in you that was pure and loving through seeing all of these different sides of humanity.
Yeah.
And it didn't make you bitter. It didn't make you angry. You were really like this light. And then, so I totally, after meeting you and hearing your story and how it organically happened, your life has been an organic, like, ripple effect of you. That's what it sounds like.
Well, I wouldn't change anything about my childhood. My mom was incredibly abusive. And so I'm a big advocate also for child abuse, charities. I'm always, going down that route too. And with this pandemic, that's one thing that keeps me up at night, because these kids are trapped. If you don't have an escape, it is really scary. If you live with somebody like that, I can't imagine going back to that age and being trapped with my mom in a house. I probably would not be here right now.
Yeah.
So, but again, I wouldn't change any of it, because it's what made me, I always say, like, I have to thank her for being the mom that she was, because had she been the mom that I wanted her to be, I wouldn't be the mom I am today.
Right.
So, it's just that weird hindsight.
Well, you have people go back in hindsight and they become very bitter and very angry, and they become exactly what they hate. So there was a decision that you made.
Yeah.
Probably subconsciously, and it built on each other till it was a conscious decision.
Right. Yeah. Right.
that you're doing. When you were talking about you were stepping over, not you, but people were stepping over this homeless man. I did an interview, and I'm going to have to connect you to with this guy, Brandon Allen Reed. He is a singer, and singer-songwriter. He's in Nashville. He actually used to be in Texas.
Oh, wow.
Moved back, but he was homeless.
Oh.
And he writes about what that was like. It's called Boxcar Junkies is his band.
Oh, I love that.
And he does these kind of these fundraisers where all the monies and the proceeds and everything that people give, they give to the homeless.
Oh,
and he's like,
that.
because people would look at him like right through him, like he didn't exist.
I know that's the part that really struck me because, and I love dogs. So I'm not using this as an analogy in a bad way, but if it had been a dog, people would be like, oh my God, we got to find a home for it, as I would too. But because it's a human, they think, well, they're human, they can take care of themselves. And it's not necessarily always true. Mm-hmm. And, or they'll say, well, they're addicts. Well, if I lived on the street, you can bet that I would be like, numb me until I don't know what reality is.
Right.
And you just can't judge, And I do think my grandmother, when I was young, we were dirt poor. Like a lot of us were back in the 80s. It wasn't, the 80s were a different time to grow up. Yeah. We were all working at 14. But my grandmother, I'll never forget. She was a bartender and she didn't have money, but she would always give this one guy like a $5 bill. And back then, it was always the brown paper bag with alcohol. The drugs were not as prevalent on the streets. And so I remember somebody saying to her, they said, why do you give that to him? He's just going to buy alcohol. And she's like, well, that's not why you give. I buy alcohol too. And that's the thing is it's not, you don't give so you can dictate what they do with that money. Let's say this on the flip side of that is I don't give money anymore either, only because I did realize in the world we live in today, I'm just supporting the drug addict,
right?
Drug dealer, not the drug addict, because they're all addicts. But that dealer has driven it before after I've given money, and I've watched them all go over and give, a little bit. Yes.
So, but you give without judgment. That is the moral of it. Without, we all hear about, you give so that not to get, but do you give without judgment?
Right. Yeah, I know. It's interesting.
I think if you can give something with a purity, man, what comes out of it on the other end is so much different than if someone gives it saying like, well, I'm better than you, so here.
Right. I know. Well, and that's the thing. People do think they're better than. And I look at it and I think that could have been my dad. It could be me. It could be my kids. You just never know what wrong decision. We've all made bad decisions. And sadly, sometimes a bad decision, it takes you there.
Yeah. Is there one of those, when you look back, is there one of those decisions that are like a turning point for you? Like the turning points that I have in my life is like having my son Jacob at 16, like he was my birthday present, and actually keeping him. Like it was
right.
Yeah. That was one of those decisions that changed my life forever. Do you have one of those that either good or bad?
Yeah, the best thing I ever did was marry my husband. He's just the coolest. And we've been together for 25 years, married for 23. And he's just super supportive. And at the same time, he lifts me up. He opens the door. He treats me like a woman, but we have a very equal relationship where everything's 50-50, and he's just precious. He's the most important decision I've ever made.
Okay, I got to go back because you didn't have examples. This is huge. This is huge because it took me a long time. Like this is my third husband, because I'm not going to lie about it. I'm thick, like I had Jacob and I thought, oh geez, I'm supposed to marry his dad. That's not you don't do that's no.
Right. Well, at the time, it felt like the right thing to do.
Right. And they all were proper, but because it got me to where I am and, all of that stuff. But how did you, not having the cookie cutter, great, example, can you talk to me if you even remember as like for women out there or guys out there, how did you pick him? How was that?
It's interesting because I've been asked this question before, and I think, it's weird because I have friends that had the cookie cutter that are in horrible relationships now. So I don't even really know that that's a real thing.
Right.
Um, I will say, growing up, because I was always at my friends' houses, I adored their parents, or I would look at them and go, okay, I know what I don't want to be like, but I do want to be like that when I grow up, or I do want that kind of a relationship, And so this
Mm.
became somewhat of a role model for me. And I think when it's not your parents, it's even, it's almost like when another adult tells you not to do something, you listen, but when your parents tell you not to, you rebel.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I had a lot of good male and female figures in my life that kind of shaped me and
Me too.
taught me the right. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. I just got
I,
lucky.
yeah, I don't believe in luck. It's something that's there. But I'm thinking, I feel like we all have these unique superpowers. The superpowers are gifts. God implanted them in us as little, fires and seeds that we develop. And I see when when I'm listening to you, I'm like, were given the gift of clarity. There was no, so when you see people, I'm totally like talking from my heart here now.
Oh yeah.
When you growing up, um, because you had such a unique perspective of life, things that most kids don't see,
Right.
kind of, you were given the clarity. So when you saw things, there wasn't um, this haze over it. You just saw it for purity, and you kind of saw it like, "Ooh, I don't like that. Ooh, I like that."
Yeah.
There wasn't an emotional or
Right.
thought. I don't know the word, but I see it as a cloud, like a cloud over it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember even being young having good instincts, like I need to get out of this party. Like I don't want to be here, or this guy is scaring me, I need to get away. But
Mhm.
I think the thing that people do that's damaging is it's the difference between I need to get away from this guy and all guys are bad. Right?
Yes,
It's like you put people into those boxes, and that's not good because people are bad and people are good. And it doesn't
yep.
matter your gender, your race, your religion, and all of it is
It's
just part of, yeah.
Yep. Which goes perfectly into why you're doing what you're doing. And I was so attracted to you, and getting the word out there about who you are and what you're doing is because that homeless person there is not good or bad. They're a person, you get to know them, and then you create that decision if you're going to have a relationship with them or not.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly. And the same thing goes for on the streets. I mean, there's some really good ones and there's some very scary ones. And I've
Mhm.
learned who to stay away from. I mean, I have new rules now when I do just my street stuff. I don't get out of my van anymore, only because I've had a couple of weird things happen, which is a little bit of a bummer because I miss that, that connection. Now, there's a few guys that I know really well that I'll get out and give a big hug to.
Right.
But the majority, and then now it's nice because I'm actually partnering with the VFA or the VFW or the VA or a nursing home or the shelters. So it's a little safer.
Yeah.
But I
I
do
didn't even think of that.
I do miss that one-on-one. I mean, I would used to get up on Sunday morning and I would be gone for 4 or 5 hours and I would go sit under the bridge. And, looking back, it was a little dangerous. I mean, I've picked guys up before and taken them down to the hospital. Not smart. But I'm glad I did. At the time, it was what I needed to do. And now I just have to really listen to my gut. You know,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
husband finally set me down. He's like, I know that they need you, but I need you and the kids need you. So you're going to have to like really take it down.
Well, I think it comes at your passion. One of the questions. My next one is, how do you describe your passion? You were all in, like and so that's good to have that balance of your husband, because
Yeah.
your passion, it seems like, could take over.
It can for sure, but he really struggles with it because he's so supportive. Like I said, he was the one that bought me the van, but then he also has these moments of if something happens to you and I'm the one that's been supporting you this whole time, I'm
Yeah.
going to feel like a total asshole. you know? So he struggles with it, but now we have a really good system going and it's safe and
Yeah, you figured it out. You found that perfect balance.
exactly. And I even have some friends that are police that will go with me if I need them to, if I'm doing something a little more dangerous. But
Uh,
overall, people are good. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. But it
Yeah.
does just take that one, jerk that just did some special K or something that, that somebody gave them.
Ruins it. It ruins it.
Yeah.
Travis, I see Travis just popped on. He is a Marine veteran out this way. He has a podcast. Travis, you got to go back and you got to listen to the beginning of this. You're going to laugh what Kim is doing. But okay, so I could talk to you forever, but I always try to keep these within 20 minutes to respect everybody's time. But for my last question, because at heart, I am a relationship expert. This is why I do it, to show that love is out there and how people love, and it brings them to where they are today. Yeah. So in this moment, as we're sitting here, what does love mean to you?
Oh my gosh, that's a really deep one. Shoot, I mean, my kids, my husband. I mean, I think the unconditional love that you get, the kind that the dogs give you, where you're like, oh my God, these things just love me no matter what. You get that from your husband and your kids too. But just love overall is not judging. I mean, you cannot live in this world and judge each other. The finger pointing has got to stop right now. It's out of control. Being with people on the streets, I mean, I look at them and I think that used to be somebody's baby. That guy right there with no teeth, with the sign, that fought for our country, some mom at some point was in the hospital and that was somebody's baby. And how in the world did they get here? And so I always try to make them feel like that there's no other place I'd rather be than right there. Because I think if somebody had loved them enough, they wouldn't be there.
That's true. It is so true. And you're gonna make me cry and all my makeup's gonna go everywhere, but that's okay, because I can feel your love. It was like I was there and watching it. Wow. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your beautiful Texas day and your beautiful family to share with us. And before we go, tell everybody your website. I am going to put it in there so they can click on it. And what's the best way? Because we're all not in Texas, although we all wish we were. How can we help?
So the best way is just to go to my website. It's Zane is my middle name, gang.com or .org, either one. And on there is my Amazon wish list where I get all my goods for my guys. And then there's a PayPal if you just would rather donate money. Or you can follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Zane Gang Texas TX.
So. I love it, guys. I got addicted when I saw her, and so will you. You are doing wonder in this world. Thank you so much again. And for everybody out there, love hard, love pure, and love true until tomorrow.
Thank you.
You are so welcome.